If you're a bird, you'd rather die singing than living a silent life. This simple metaphor is what Jimmy Lai lives by. Jimmy Lai is a self-made entrepreneur and social media tycoon. He's become one of the most respected and prominent symbols in the fight for democracy in Hong Kong. He was born in China and arrived in Hong Kong as a stowaway at the young age of 12. He arose from poverty and created Apple Daily. His commitment to fight for freedom led him to be arrested repeatedly, where he is now facing a life sentence. He still holds true to his beliefs and embodies the courage and sacrifice for human rights and freedom for all. So we have two speakers today, and including myself. I'm Ava McGowan. I'm a criminal justice major and I attend Vanguard University.
And I'm Valerie, and I'm a pre-nursing major attending Vanguard.
And my name's Anthony Hernandez, and I am attending Vanguard, getting my special needs credential.
So we are having this discussion on the documentary called Hong Kongers, which was a story of Jimmy Lai's life, as well as the fight for democracy in Hong Kong. Jimmy Lai really focused on freedom of speech. How do you guys think that freedom of speech was important to him and the people of Hong Kong?
I thought it was because freedom of speech wasn't just a right to him, it was more like it was needed for change to happen, and it helped the people share their experiences and personal stories, and that felt like encouragement for the movement. And without it, misinformation would have spread, and it would have been easier for like people's fears to take over, and they wouldn't have known the truth. So the freedom of speech gave people a platform to connect and have like a better imagination what the future could be.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, so like freedom of speech was important to Jimmy Lai and the people of Hong Kong because it gave them power to question authority and protect their basic rights. Jimmy Lai also believes without freedom of speech, democracy cannot exist. So he created his newspaper, Apple Daily, and it allowed people to share information openly and express their opinions without fear. Especially when the government started to silence the media, it showed how quickly freedom could be taken away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Jimmy Lai was really important for the fight for democracy. He's still fighting for it today, even through prison. I think that freedom of speech was really important to him. He prioritized that over everything, like not over everything else, but that was his main topic and his main goal was to keep freedom of speech so that they could see the corruption and spread that information through Hong Kong. And yeah, his impact on the people of Hong Kong is very impressive for himself, and for anyone at all. How do you guys think his actions impacted people?
For me, his actions had a huge impact on the people of Hong Kong because it gave them hope and courage to keep fighting for what they believed, which was their freedom. And then he also stood up to the Chinese government, even when it meant losing his business and his freedom. As we could see through Apple Daily, he helped people understand that what was really happening and encouraged them to speak out. Even after his arrest, his bravery continued to inspire others, which I thought was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I pretty much thought the same thing, and his actions helped the citizens feel like instead of feeling powerless, they felt like their voices were starting to matter more than they did before.
How do you guys think that Jimmy Lai's story, just overall his entire life story, kind of showed how he was fighting for democracy and for freedom?
For me, so how I saw was that the documentary it showed that freedom of the press and democracy were deeply connected. So like his newspaper, Apple Daily, gave people access to like honest information, and it allowed them to express their views like freely. So that was pretty cool. He also believed that without a free press, that the truth would kind of like disappear, and the government could control what people thought and think about them. So that's really interesting as well to me. For me also, um, when the Hong Kong government shut down, Apple Daily is symbolized on how taking away press freedom also destroyed democracy. For me, watching that movie as well, it made it clear that a free press is the voice of the people and the foundation of what the free society is definitely about.
For me, the freedom of press was, it gave people information that they wouldn't have had without like the freedom, because the newspaper, the Apple Daily, it showed like the corruption of the government, and if it wasn't for that, people wouldn't have noticed, or like they wouldn't have been informed. And I think that's really important, not just then but now. Like having the freedom of press is really important.
I think that the Apple Daily, like as a whole, was really important to his movement, and it really kind of, it wasn't just in Hong Kong. You could see like how Jimmy's tactics were different from what theirs would be, or like how it was, and they were like drawing inspiration from each other, and they were really just spreading the word about it. And I think it just really showed how much they wanted democracy back, how much they wanted their freedom of speech, and kind of just their fight for their own rights. And I think that was really inspiring.
Absolutely.
Another thing that's inspiring is how he looked at imprisonment. He chose to stay in Hong Kong even though he could face jail for life due to the Chinese government. Why do you think he chose to stay and like risk that instead of leaving for safety in like America or Britain somewhere?
Well, what I kind of got from this, like my thoughts, it's because he believed in leaving a world that betrayed his values and the people that the people he inspired. To me, he felt like that true leadership meant standing with others, even when it's possibly dangerous, as you could see. And then also his Catholic faith, he was talking about a lot about God from his wife, also gave him strength to find strength to stay and accept the consequences of his actions. By remaining in Hong Kong, Jimmy became a symbol of courage and sacrifice. So that was pretty cool because of showing that the fight for his freedom is worth any cost. So that's what I got out of it. It's pretty,
Yeah, I thought it was a way to like show solidarity. By him staying, he was showing that he was willing to accept the same consequences as the other people would have faced, and he just wanted to like show like he was actually there for everyone.
I kind of think that he did it to show that they should have no fear for fighting for what is right. Really just showing that even though he could face life in prison, that it didn't matter to him. What really mattered was their rights and what they really wanted. Not only was it freedom of speech, freedom of religion, they wanted to get away from communist China, which was trying to like really limit them in every way possible. They wanted to get rid of trade and like everything that made Hong Kong unique, which I think is really why Jimmy tried to fight for it. Because he grew up in China. He saw how that life could affect people. As it said in the documentary, that he was rich as a child, before 12 when he decided that he needed to go away from China. His family lost all of his riches, which really caused them a lot of like hardships. And seeing him push through that with or without faith is just really inspiring for everyone to look at. And I think that him being imprisoned as well is also something that people not look up to, but like they're inspired by, because he was willing to fight so hard for what he believed in that he would end up in prison with no chance to get out. And that would lead us into what do you think faith as like a role had Jimmy's fight for democracy?
I think it played a major role in his fight for democracy. His beliefs taught him that every person has a God-given dignity and a right to kind of be free. His faith also gave him like courage to stand up for the truth, even if it meant going to prison, right? Jimmy often said that his relationship with God gave him peace and strength to keep fighting for justice. I also wrote from the video that his faith was what helped him stay hopeful and unafraid, no matter what happened to him. So just having that strength of God-given grace, you know, having the strength for him. Yeah.
I kind of thought the same thing, that his faith is what kept him going, that he stayed even when like things got dangerous, and he, instead of fleeing, he stayed with everyone, and he didn't lose hope that things like were gonna get better.
Yeah. He said that he gained his faith through his wife, and that he was baptized as well. And I think that his faith and like gaining faith later in life really just like opened his eyes to new things that he could fight for and that he knew was right. He knew it was God given, and he really just wanted to share that with all the people in Hong Kong. One of the facts is that China really doesn't like Christianity as like a religion. They don't really believe in Jesus and in God. They have their own separate religion, and it's kind of frowned upon to practice Christianity in China. And it's kind of like an underground religion there. And I think it was really inspiring how he decided he wanted to be open about his faith and kind of spread it with the people he was fighting with and fighting for. And it, like Hong Kongers and Jimmy's life story, really teaches you a lot of lessons in life. To be humble, to be grateful, and a lot of other things in that type of area. What lessons do you guys think that the Hong Kongers offer for like community and human rights and just like believing in your faith?
I think it plays an important role in supporting human rights struggles. The film kind of shows global attention and pressure can help protect activists like Jimmy as well, keeping their stories alive. So without this video, no one would have known the struggles of Jimmy besides the people in his circle or the people, right? So it made its way all the way overseas to the States. It's also sorry, I lost my train of thought. It also points out that many countries stay silent because they value business with China over people's rights and human rights, which is crazy. And then for me, like the main lesson that I got is that freedom anywhere depends on people everywhere speaking up. So without people speaking up, no one's, like my mom always said, closed mouths don't get fed. So without that, people wouldn't fight for humans' rights. When the world stays silent, injustice grows stronger, which was really impactful. What I really got out of it, and it's also powerful for when people unite. They could fight for democracy, and they could keep democracy alive.
I agree completely.
I also think it was important how it made its way overseas and like other places weren't like silent about it. That they showed that like they acknowledged what was going on and didn't act like nothing was happening. And I think that helped a lot, because if people just acted like it wasn't going on, then it could have been like swept under a rug in that sort of way.
Absolutely.
And then that just wouldn't have been good.
Absolutely.
I think talking about, how it spread internationally, I feel like we have to talk about how China implemented the national security law, which kind of, limited anything you could say about China. Like, you couldn't talk down about the Chinese government. In the video, it said that violating the law could get you life in prison, which is what Jimmy Lai is facing, regardless of where you are. So I think spreading the battle for democracy internationally was kind of just uniting the people, not only those who have democracy in their nations, but those who even oppose it, because it really shows like differing views and everything. And like those views could really unite other people. Like, even if you didn't believe in it, like you believe in human rights. And I think it was touching to see how other people were also fighting for Jimmy and how they were fighting to get him released from prison. I think that's really touching. Is there anything in the documentary that like really stood out to you guys, that like really like impacted your lives?
For me, just having his faith. Like, I think having faith is, like, I'm still growing, right? But like him choosing faith over fear, that's like one big thing. He said that he knew he might lose everything, but the freedom was worth more than comfort and safety. So, here in America, we're blessed to be free. We're able to kind of speak what we want. Another powerful moment was seeing the people of Hong Kong peacefully protesting, holding up their phones, using lights in the dark. It showed their unity and courage. That was really, really beautiful to kind of see. I wish that I was there to experience, which is pretty cool. And just those scenes reminded me that real freedom takes sacrifice, and that standing up for what's right can inspire the whole world. That's what I felt is very meaningful to me. Yeah. What about you guys?
I think also, how you chose faith over fear. I really liked how you put that. That he was willing to lose everything to gain just a little for his people. And I think that once he knew God and God's word, that he realized that he had this calling, and like he was called to fight for freedom, and he was gonna fight for his people.
Absolutely.
And I really thought that it was touching to see how much he cared about it. Like, other people may have fought for it, like they showed up for the protests and everything, and that in itself is like really touching and inspiring to me, just to like show up, because it shows that you want it too. But I think that Jimmy being like a ringleader for it just really shows how devoted he was to getting that democracy back.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So now, Jimmy Lai is facing life in prison due to violating the national security law. While he's facing life, his ideas and his fight for democracy are still strong and are still being pursued. We hope that there will be more improvement in his situation. Maybe that he'll get out of jail, maybe that he'll be put on probation, but even the president, Donald Trump, has demanded a push in his release, which is quite interesting to read about. They have a newspaper article about it. It's really interesting. And he will be released sometime, whether it be 2 weeks from now or 2 years from now. He'll be released, and I think there'll be a resurgence of democracy and his movement again. And, you know, who knows, maybe America or the United Kingdom would step in and help the Hong Kongers in their fight for freedom. So that wraps up our time here.